So, 2 days ago, I put out several videos and shorts about the Epstein files and the case, and I asked a simple question: why is President Trump downplaying something that, by every serious account, documents some of the most vile, predatory evil imaginable on children? Evil that wrecks children's lives, boys and girls, for power and pleasure. Now, I did hear many comments. It was actually one of our best performing videos. And some of you were responding, hey, give Trump a break. He's cleaning up Biden's mess. The problem is, Epstein didn't start under Biden. The Florida case was in the mid 2000s. That's when Trump called the cops. Epstein's federal arrest was 2019. That's in Trump's first administration. Maxwell was arrested in 2020, convicted in 2021. And that's not opinion, that's just the timeline. And Reuters also reported that a newly surfaced FBI interview record says that Trump called Palm Beach's police chief back in 2006, basically saying everybody knew what Epstein was doing, and thank goodness you're stopping him. Those are both quotes. So no, this is not a brand new mess that fell out of the sky. This is a long-running moral stain, and it spans parties, it spans administrations, and elite circles. And then, right on cue, the next day after I release these videos, we are watching Attorney General Pam Bondi in real time in a congressional hearing. Democrats press her on the Epstein files, and Republican Thomas Massie as well. But instead of clarity, we get pivoting and posturing. Take a look at this. Here is one such exchange.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the way
ridiculous.
I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people.
How many people have you indicted? The answer is a number. The answer is 0. If there was a number, that's easy. You don't answer it in the way you want to. You answer with the number. Now, the Associated Press reported that under pressure over Epstein, Bondi was aggressively pivoting, mocking questionnaires, and appraised Trump by pointing to the stock market, right? So, and in fact, that was an exchange with Thomas Massie, where again, is anybody going to be indicted? Well, the stock market's over 50,000. Here's another piece from this. This is a picture of Epstein victims standing in court raising their hands. Now, and this isn't even the full picture, by the way. This is a one angle, but you see Pam Bondi there in the front. The Epstein victims there in the back. The victims were asked to stand if they had not yet been contacted by the Trump administration. And again, this is just a partial view. And here you can look at Attorney General Bondi here, and it almost looks like she's acting like they're not even there, ostensibly. Now, I don't want to put thoughts or intentions in her heart. I don't know what it is. And then, of course, as we've already mentioned, Pam Bondi goes on to defend the Department of Justice's, what I have to believe is intentional inaction, by burping up nonsense about the stock market. Let me ask you this. What does the Dow Jones have to do with justice for trafficked children? Nothing. Unless the truth would expose powerful people on the stock market or in its circles, and powerful people are being treated like a protected class. We cannot deny that. When your answer to child trafficking is stocks are up, you're not governing, you're hiding. And that brings us to the word that everybody's dancing around, and that is cover up. Can we call it this now? Can we just be honest? This is a cover up. Probably one of the worst cover-ups we've ever seen. And that's not just my opinion. Here's Nancy Mace talking to Piers Morgan.
Be shocked, Piers, that some of the names that I've seen that came across the DOJ in emails that the DOJ is protecting. And we're talking about people on both sides of the aisle. We're talking about famous people, rich people, people in power, prime ministers, former presidents, etc., media personalities that are named in these files. And that's why I say this is going to go down as the greatest cover-up, one of the greatest cover-ups in American history.
If you were under the idea that President Trump is cleaning up Biden's mess, If I were to even give you that to start with, we are now, though, in President Trump's administration. This is his DOJ. And they are participating in this cover-up. I don't know to what degree people are involved. Again, I'm on record as saying I don't think President Trump is criminally involved in any of this nonsense. But he is allowing the cover-up. The buck does stop with him. And I can tell you, when you are asked direct questions about one of the darkest crimes imaginable, when the whole nation is watching and your instinct is to deflect, to pivot, to political victories, to run out the clock, that is not transparency. That's not leadership. That's institutional self-preservation. The machine is protecting itself. It's part of the decay of this country. And again, it pains me to say that because these were people that I voted for because I wanted them to clean up this stuff. Instead, they keep sweeping it under the rug and covering it under more rugs. It is endlessly frustrating, and it's maddening because we are not standing for justice. We are not telling the truth. We are covering up one of the most demonic evils that our country has ever seen. Now, to be accurate, Kash Patel, FBI director, testified back in September of 2025 that there was, quote, no credible information that Epstein trafficked underage girls, quote, to anyone but himself. But my friends, you got to say that out loud and tell me that it passes the sniff test. Are we really supposed to believe that this was a one-man show? No facilitators, no pipeline, no protection, no gatekeepers? That Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted for her role in recruiting and trafficking minors, we already know. Just Epstein doesn't fit the reality of what's been proven in court already. And now we have evidence that Thomas Massey brought up there in that hearing with Pam Bondi of at least 6 co-conspirators in this. And both Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are on the record saying there were no co-conspirators. A system that can't name co-conspirators is either incompetent or complicit in one way or another. God does not let rulers hide behind spin. Proverbs 24:11 says, rescue those being led away to death. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality. That's Deuteronomy 16:19. And the book of Isaiah condemns leaders who write oppressive decrees and prey on the vulnerable. Isaiah 10, verses 1 and 2. God is not impressed with our slogans when we refuse justice. And I believe we are now at that point. We are refusing justice. And I would say this, if this were a Democrat administration, if it's a Republican administration, if it's an independent administration, it is what is happening. And I said this hits me as a conservative. The GOP itself was founded originally as an abolitionist party. It was the GOP that was the major political arm that did away with slavery in America almost 200 years ago. The principle was that certain evils are so corrosive to a nation that you don't manage them, you destroy them. Make no mistake, sex trafficking is slavery. You want to call this the modern day slavery? That's fine. Call it modern day slavery. It is slavery with a new mask. It's not the same slavery that we were guilty of in the past, but it's a new one. And by us covering it up, we're sharing some of the blood on our hands. How can we do this? If you won't fight slavery when it wears a suit, then perhaps you never fought slavery. You just liked the branding. That's why this feels like such a moral gut punch. It looks like the people who claim to represent my worldview, many of your worldview, are now acting like the favored class must be protected, even if it means the victims get nothing but our thoughts, our prayers, and our procedural delays, most importantly. I get it. Today, the big narrative is people are furious at Pam Bondi and they want her fired. Fire her. Okay, if that's what you want to do. But don't be naive. Firing one person doesn't guarantee the truth. Because if our system is built to conceal, then it will simply swap masks, swap chairs, swap name tags, but it'll keep the same mission: delay, redact, and deflect.